It's your boy PowerXL, and we're back with another episode of Gaming and Chill. Let's get into the fucking news, boy. Let's see. Apparently, Iran
Supreme Leader
is
threatens
gonna F
Trump.
around and find out.
Those who are familiar with the politics of the region,
This is a
they
little
know
long.
that the
We might
Americans' involvement in
breeze
this
through this
matter
real
will
quick.
100% be at their loss.
Uh-oh.
The loss they receive will probably be much more than the damage Iran will bear. If America have a military presence on the ground, without a doubt it will be an irreparable loss. They are threatening us, and they are also clearly asking us to surrender. With an unacceptable language, they ask the nation
That's
to
right.
surrender, and they ask us to come and surrender,
That's
which
right.
surprises us. First of all, they should threaten someone who is scared of their threat. The nation of Iran has shown that it does not feel intimidated by the threat of those doing the threatening.
Then why are you in an underground bunker?
Yo, Drew.
Yeah, what if you're not worried about why underground?
Ago, Iran's supreme leader addressed his nation, saying Iran will not surrender. He also directly responded to President Trump. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei made this threat: let the Americans know that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, and any military invention on their part will undoubtedly result in irreparable damage. His remarks coming just a day after President Trump called on Tehran to surrender unconditionally.
Yep.
CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is in London. What more can you tell us about what the Iranian supreme leader is saying this morning to his nation, but clearly sending a message to the world and specifically the United States?
Yeah, his second public comment since this conflict, this phase of the conflict began on Friday. And I should say, yes, while the rhetoric is fiery, it's not the most combustible language we've heard coming out of Tehran. And indeed, irreparable damage, he says, that will be done. He doesn't necessarily say it will be done to the United States bases, for example.
Well, yeah, he means irreparable damage done to his own nuclear program. That's what he means to say, but he doesn't want to be specific because it doesn't sound as good.
In the region. He doesn't, as far as we know at this point, appear to even mention President Trump by name. And also, too, the version we're seeing is a statement that's been read by a female anchor on state news broadcasting. So an interesting set of nuances here, but the words themselves are: let the Americans know that the Iranian nation is not one to surrender, and any military intervention on their part will undoubtedly result in irreparable damage. Those who are wise and familiar with Iran, its people and its history will never speak to this nation in the language of threats. And that, of course, comes after Trump himself suggested that Khamenei was an easy target and suggested they would hold off killing him for now, and demanded...
Just crazy. Trump is literally, think about this, he's literally tweeting out death threats. Yeah, no, really, like, he's like, we're not going to kill you for now, but we can. We can do this.
Unconditional surrender. Now, I think many long-term observers of Iran would say to you that it's highly unlikely at any stage you would hear the Ayatollah or anyone in his security circle accept the notion of unconditional surrender, and how, of course, would that even practically occur with Israeli jets in the sky. But this statement, I think, it's clearly putting Iran in a position where it's not about to suddenly kowtow to any specific American demand. It is clearly not looking publicly here or beseeching America for some kind of diplomatic off-ramp. But you've got to bear in mind too, Sarah, the position and condition Iran is currently in. A significant part of its military and indeed nuclear scientists having been killed. That hierarchy.
Yeah, they're dead. I mean, I feel like they're not really in a position to negotiate a whole lot, right? I mean, I would say the United States purposely avoided assassinating Hitler too, by the way. Yeah. How are these countries so delusional? He's not delusional. He's just trying to look good for his people. That's all. He knows he's cooked. He knows he's cooked. Absolutely.
Gone, disrupted. Even the replacement chief of staff of the military killed in just the last 48 hours. Khamenei himself clearly dealing with the most existential crisis indeed of his career, with the Natanz enrichment plant heavily damaged, according to UN inspectors speaking in the last 48 hours, by these Israeli strikes. And so
cooked how? Well, your own people hate you. You're being bombed by not only a superior military force of Israel, but you're also being bombed by one of the most powerful countries, if not the most powerful country in the world, potentially. They're putting aircraft carriers around your country. All of the people that are supposed to be on your side are offering their thoughts and prayers and then telling everyone else to get out of your country before it's too late. You have all of the people that are part of your military leadership getting destroyed. You're trying to shoot missiles off, and they keep blowing up the things that you're shooting the missiles out of. You're reduced to sitting underground in a bunker, tweeting out AI fucking videos of Israel exploding. Like, yeah, he's cooked, man. He's absolutely cooked. He's done. Like, really?
Looking, I think, at their military arsenal, what indeed do they have left. Some experts we've been speaking to have suggested they have between 1,000 to 2,000 missiles that could hit Israel. They've possibly burned through 500, maybe 700 of those so far. So really doubts as to how much they have left that could be used as a deterrent against Israel, period. And I think that will be dictating a lot of their choices going forwards. They can't publicly give in, but there's not an awful lot potentially, as far as we know, they can do to deter the US and Israel in the days and weeks ahead.
Iran.
I don't think that America and Israel should listen to anything other than a complete and absolute surrender from Iran. They are known liars. They've been making shit up constantly. All they do is tweet out propaganda. Nah. Total surrender. That's not going to happen? Well, then I guess something else will have to happen. That's what we're planning? Yeah.
Supreme Leader ratcheting up its war of words with the U.S.
Do you want war? No, I don't want a war. Why would I want a war? Like, I don't want a prolonged military conflict. I want a surgical removal of the nuclear sites. Why would we want a prolonged military conflict in Iran? It's stupid. Like, why would you, like, yeah, of course not. A kinetic removal of the military sites. Exactly.
Morning, the U.S. military now surging its troops in the region. And two sources to CNN says President Trump is increasingly warming to the idea of the U.S. using its military to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. Iran ramping up tough talk, as we mentioned just a short time ago. Iran's supreme leader warned that if the U.S. gets involved in the conflict, it will cause irreparable damage. That comes after President Trump said the Ayatollah would be an easy target and demanded Iran's unconditional surrender.
Yep.
Already, the U.S. is mobilizing forces, sending another aircraft carrier to the Middle East, and sources telling CNN the U.S. is deploying more than 30 aerial refueling tankers to the region as well. Overnight, Israel says it launched a new wave of strikes involving more than 50...
I don't know why your chatters can't understand that an air campaign doesn't mean a long war and military occupation. The reason why is because they're stupid. And, or actually, they're not even stupid. A lot of them just don't know anything about what's happening. And I'm not an expert in this either, right? But compared to them, I am. And so a lot of the people that are making these arguments and like saying these different things, if I bring them up and bring up a counterpoint, they're like, well, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, of course. Alerts in Israel soon. I just got a phone notification. Oh boy. Willfully ignorant. Just got a preliminary. Just got another rocket alert. Uh-oh. Missile alert now? Uh-oh.
Jets on Iranian centrifuges and missile production sites, and new before and after satellite images obtained by CNN show the damage that the airstrikes have caused to Iran's military facilities. CNN chief international anchor Christian Amanpour joining me now. Christian, you know, you look at this situation and what we're facing. What do you see as you see all of these things moving into place, the military moving things into place, Donald Trump warming to the idea of strikes? Do you see this going forward, that the U.S. is indeed going to take part in this war?
They absolutely will. It's going to
Look,
happen.
it's hard to tell. Donald
It's
Trump
gonna happen.
says certain
Everybody
things,
knows
and
it's gonna happen.
you know, he's making decisions with his closest advisors, and we don't know, you know, sometimes from one day to the next what it will be. But you're absolutely correct that all the signals point to Donald Trump deciding to take part. And apparently, according to what you've just reported, the actual physical preps for such a deployment, contingency plans, so to speak, pre-positioning aircraft and other such equipment that might be necessary appears to be going on from what you've just said.
That's reasonable, though. I mean, they're going to do that with any type of potential conflict. That doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot.
The question, of course, is
it would be irresponsible for them not to.
Ronan Bergman, Maggie Haberman, and the others. It is very clear that, according to their reporting and according to all that we see and hear, Donald Trump is significantly influenced by Benjamin Netanyahu, who has wanted to do this for many, many decades, as we have been reporting. Donald Trump, we hear and we know because he said it, is seeing the successful military operation by Israel and thinking that maybe this is something to also take part in. The question, though, of course, is what is the end strategy and what is the wide goal, and does the United States and Israel share the same goal? Is Donald Trump also...
Partially, but not entirely. Israel's goal is much more all-encompassing with Iran, whereas I think our goal should be just simply to stop their nuclear facilities and get rid of that. Like, Israel has a much larger breadth of its goal, whereas we don't.
So in the regime change, or more precisely, the regime destruction business, as Israel is and as it keeps telegraphing. For instance, when Donald Trump posted that Khamenei, the so-called supreme leader, would be an easy target if they decided to go ahead, that is telegraphing the desire for that political assassination, should they desire to do that.
Of course they're going to do that.
Now, you've seen that Khamenei has responded and done the usual. Iran always says we will not surrender and we will, you know, maintain our dignity, our sovereignty. The issue is with the Iranian people right now. There is a good deal of fear and panic. I have my own friends and family, not to mention others who I'm in touch with there, who are trying to follow instructions. It is impossible to evacuate a city of 10 million people. Just impossible. It's a completely irrational thing to say. So analysts are saying this is a sort of a psyop, if you like, to cause as much panic and chaos and damage to the regime's control right now by threatening, you know, that many people, or subliminally threatening that many people, by bombing in various areas that may or may not have military targets, but also have quite a lot of civilian targets, many residential neighborhoods, and also by cutting and disrupting and hacking a current the financial system, where it's getting more and more difficult for Iranians to be able to get money out. They also don't have enough gasoline, even if they wanted to get into their cars, to actually escape en masse, as they are being told to do.
Wow.
So this is the situation on the ground, and the real question is, what is the strategy? What is America's end goal, and what is Israel's end goal, and do they align?
Yeah, those are really good questions that need to be answered. There's also this question that I wanted to talk to you about, because you are...
I think that partially they align, not entirely.
In touch with people in Iran, and you've been covering this region for such a very long time, many decades. One of the stated goals we are now hearing from Netanyahu is that not only does he want to get rid of the nuclear facilities that Iran has and its nuclear capabilities, but he is calling for regime change. What are you hearing from within Iran, as Israel is also striking Iran?
Well, I mean, of course they want regime change. I mean, like, it's common sense that the regime said they want to blow them the fuck up and kill all of them. No fucking shit, they want to get rid of them. Duh. Of course.
And sending people into a panic.
Well, indeed, to follow up from what I was just saying, there is quite a lot of panic. Look, we've said it over and again, the majority of the Iranian people are fed up with this government, with this regime.
Yeah, they don't like it
I
either.
have personally covered the Green Revolution, the so-called Green Revolution, back in 2009, where people actually...
You gotta have some massive fucking balls to go against that government, man. Like, oh my God. Can you imagine that? Because, like, they just go and kill people that disagree with them, right? I mean, it's one of those, like, crazy fucking, like, authoritarian places.
came up to me as I was following them with cameras, running through the streets with these protesters in 2009, and they said, Madam, this time it's going to happen. But no, it didn't, because the regime used its police, military, and paramilitaries to crush that protest. I've been banned.
It's another good way to tell if you use the military to kill people that are protesting against you peacefully, you're generally the bad guy. Yeah, you generally are the bad guy.
Ever since for doing those reports on people's desires.
They killed 3,000 people.
So the question is, will they be able to come out now under a hail of bombardment and under the panic that I
said California? I said peacefully, not setting peacefully. That's a very important thing.
Described, because people don't know where the hits are going to happen, even if Israel says they're telegraphing. Remember, Gaza the same. They said they were telegraphing, but many people just found themselves going in circles and not knowing exactly where to go, over and over again being told to evacuate under a hail of bombs and strikes. The second issue is, even though many people would like to see an end to this, do they want to see it? And you're seeing it on their internal discussions and Telegram, although even that is difficult to monitor right now because
you don't know
the disruption of a lot of internet ability there.
Shut it down.
They're very concerned and not thrilled.
Shut down
that
the
this
internet.
might come, at the end of an Israeli F-15 jet. It is very, very sensitive in that part of the world, especially given what that part of the world and many parts of the world view as, the decimation of the Palestinian people by Israel right now in Gaza and in the West Bank as well. So there are all those complicated things. Then the last most important thing is, who comes next? If regime destruction is the aim, who and what comes next?
Who knows, right? But whatever it is probably better than a bunch of psycho, crazy fucks that, like, whenever somebody dies, they say they're a martyr. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, damn.
I like that.
That's some crazy-ass shit. And,
we'll continue this here in a little bit.
Hey, guys, it's Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Hochul
is who?
Sideburner. I think we have some more pressing news, because now that we know that this happened, we can allocate that this happened.
The idea of potentially taking U.S. action. Obviously, you're not going to tell us that. Can you walk us through what contributed to that change, how you got to where you are, and making your decision?
Trump is ready for anything
I think it started
now.
The first night. I mean, that first night was devastating.
Yeah.
And it really knocked
turning
the
back,
one side
boys.
off, It was a devastating evening, day.
Very devastating.
Pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting in the war room in a little while.
War room.
Especially, war is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for. You look right up there. I don't know. See the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War. It always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people. So
people say that.
It's very sad to see. It's very sad to see what's happening. But with that being said, I would say right now Israel, from the standpoint of winning a war, is doing pretty well. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in your meeting today with the Chief of Staff of the Pakistani Army, did you talk about Iran? Did that come up? Is there anything you can share from that?
Well, they know Iran very well, better than most. And they're not happy about anything. It's not that they're bad with Israel. They know them both, actually, but they probably, maybe they know Iran better. But they see what's going on, and he agreed with me. The reason I had him here, I wanted to thank him for not going into the war, just, ending the war. And I want to thank, as you know, Prime Minister Modi just left just a little while ago.
Oh, India
just
guy.
left. And we're working a trade deal with India.
Oh.
We're working a trade deal with Pakistan. And they were both here. But I was with Modi a few weeks ago. He was here, actually. But now we speak to him. And I'm so happy. There was a deal that two smart people, plus, they have people on their staff too, but two very smart people decided not to keep going with that war. That could have been a nuclear war. Those are two nuclear powers.
Yep, that's true.
Big ones. Big nuclear powers. And They decided not, so I was honored to meet him today.
And if I can, Mr. Keefer, sir.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, that is a W. We never talk about this a whole lot. We always talk about the wars that keep going, but the fact that India and Pakistan were able to de-escalate from what seemed like a really bad conflict, that's a very good W. Huge, huge, huge thing.
And for anyone who may want to answer, how has the travel bans from certain countries affected fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a consideration?
Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup, everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have one more year to work.
I just realized I have the same hairline as Abraham Lincoln. Fuck.
The learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic, I say this to all the Americans, because it's the first ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so I don't know. I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what the travel ban is. Right? He doesn't know what it is. He's largely sold out. Like tonight is totally. I've had friends, they heard about this meeting. They said, can you give me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to me.
We can speak.
Maybe John will give them to me.
Wait, so is he saying that he has friends, people that are hitting up the president to get him tickets for some sports game? Hey, Donald. Bro, can you get me locked in? I'm trying to see this game.
Yeah, dude.
President, two questions, if I could. One about Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Great question.
Well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, you know.
In my opinion, I think this a few weeks away thing versus a few years away is a complete stupid thing to say. Because, like, really, why? Because I'm deciding if I'm going to say it.
Just say it. We got to know.
Everybody generally is under the agreement that aborting a baby earlier in the pregnancy is better than later, right? So, like, do you want to abort a baby in the 9th month or, like, the 3rd month? So, like, if we know that they're trying to do this, wouldn't it be better to nip this in the bud as soon as possible? Like, I feel like, really, I mean, that's just, I mean,
yeah, they need a straight condom for this
That's the way my brain works, okay? Now, should it work that way? Probably not. But it does.
But it does.
There's a lot of water over the dam. But, you know, it's very, I say it very simply, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
Too much devastation. And they'd use it, you know, I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it, it's very simple as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if they're not going to use it, why do they need it?
Domestically, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley came out this week as the lead sponsor of the bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour.
$15.
It stands out because he's a Republican. There's still 20 states that have it at $7.25. Do you support the legislation?
Well, I haven't seen it. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
That's interesting that Josh did that.
Should be $20 an hour.
It should be.
Think about that one.
Literally.
Some people agree with it, some people don't. You know, some people say it really turns away
business. I think 23.
Restaurants close.
Let's be honest.
Happen. Other people agree. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a good guy.
I'm the kind of guy, I think if you can't pay people a living wage to do work, then maybe you don't have a good business model.
For the Iran, the possibility of an Iran deal, is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all.
Doesn't mean
yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, you know, nobody's able to see him stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You know, you can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far.
Somebody said that we wouldn't have restaurants if we had $20 an hour minimum wage. Did you guys know that in some of the Nordic countries, they actually do have a wage that pays that much for a number of people, and it actually is totally fine. The false idea that the only way that restaurants can run is if they pay their employees slave wages. This is a lie that's been fed to you by capitalist, and I love capitalism, but these are cynical capitalist restaurant owners in order to have you continue on a tipping tradition that was precipitated by slavery. No.
Yikes.
Do not live inside that framework. It's a lie.
What, they had the tip because you couldn't pay the slaves? That's crazy.
I mean, certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry. So we'll see what happens. I have not. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
Mr. President, you talked earlier today about having daily conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
How have those conversations weighed on you in terms of getting more involved? He's been lobbying for the U.S. to get more involved. Has that had any impact on kind of your evolution, sir?
Look, we talk, and I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having just an agreement, a strong agreement, verifiable agreement.
Yeah.
But it was such a shame. They were so close. Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for them.
But in the end...
And maybe that could still happen, I guess. They do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement. But it's very late.
Is it enough of a statement?
It's late.
No, wait for that.
Wait. They want to go to the White House now? Oh my God.
To hold off getting...
We're going to see what happens. Look, we're going to see what happens. Ending it as soon as you can would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your
I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. They're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Because there's bombs all over the place.
Oh my God.
You've seen the Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz interview. It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
It is.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon.
This does seem to be true, by the way. The overwhelming majority of Republicans support this. I can show data for this later on. There was a video that was done.
This guy, he called and apologized the other day. Because
wow, look at that. So, bro, Tucker Carlson knew. He was not about to pull a fucking Elon, man. Like, yeah, he was not trying to start some drama. He's like, Donald, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'd not do that. Absolutely not, yeah. Cucker.
He thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And
he did, yeah, I mean, I think Tucker Carlson came off a little bit too hard. He did. And I think that this entire conflict, combined with the way that Tucker Carlson has covered Ukraine and Russia, I think that it's damaged his long-term credibility as being an accurate news source. I think so. You didn't watch the whole interview? Yeah, and most people won't. They're just going to see the clips that he posted. He posted the clips.
Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right?
Yeah.
But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. people that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have
this is the right call, by the way. I think he's right about this.
To fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom.
People are disagreeing. They like Tucker Carlson. I actually like Tucker Carlson too. I do. But I'm speaking in terms of like what I think the population sentiment is, and not necessarily what my sentiment is. Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm like, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how much do I trust Tucker Carlson? I'd say like a 7, or like a 6 to a 7, which like for a journalist is like a 12 out of 10. Usually most journalists are around like the 2, maybe a 3, usually a 2.
Line is they can't have nuclear, and if Ted, I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice, because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. Yep. And it's interesting, because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And
because
I said,
he knows, everybody knows.
Well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because the entire...
I think is there something that's keeping Trump awake at night?
Bro. What?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, probably, yeah.
The entire world will blow up. Not going to let that happen.
A couple of things, yeah.
President, you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day at the G7,
No,
it sounded like.
He's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. Yeah. It's not. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
Yep.
Mr. President.
So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
On the southern border, you've had record low numbers for the month of May, 95 apprehensions, 0 releases, compared to that of the previous administration exactly a year.
Got to catch them all.
Year ago, more than 60,000 releases. What do you attribute that success to?
I like you. Who are you with?
Turning Point USA, sir.
Well, they're very good. Turning Point. Charlie, very good. See, that's what I call a good question, fellas. 1 out of 10, John. 1 out of 10, but that's a really good question. No, we had record good numbers on the border. And people are coming in, but they have to come in legally. Like some of these guys behind me, they have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our country.
That's right.
And if they can't say that, we don't want them.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thanks.
So this is a new one. It just got down 1 out of 10 questions. Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot, right? And I'm glad he gave up on the immigration membership stuff. Well, I don't know about that. Our economy is propped up by the military-industrial complex that require forever proxy wars to keep the country afloat. The political world makes a lot more sense when you know that. I think that their economy is, and for sure. But like whenever you say the economy, you're talking about like this graph. Whenever you say the economy, this is this abstraction of wealth that is not observed by the average person. So whenever you think that, this is not our economy, this is their economy. And keep in mind, all you need to do is look at the amount of growth and the amount of money that the top 1% made following COVID. And then you can see why judging the economy and looking at like an average person's like lifestyle in, anywhere in the US based off of a GDP line is a total fucking lie. I think there should be another economic status or observing graph for the majority of working class people that reflects a more realistic expression of their lives today. Sure. You want to see that? Say it ain't so. Yeah, you don't want to see that at all. There you go. Yeah, all the real graphs, that's what the real graphs show. But they got a bunch of people that are thinking that like these stocks and everything are where all the money is, even though most of these stocks are held by super rich people. Ted Cruz claims the Bible commands Christians to defend the nation of Israel. No.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who...
Oh, fuck. Oh, come on, bro. Like, why do you have to fucking do this? Why?
Curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
What?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two...
Oh, God. Oh, God. Shut up. Shut up. What, are you kidding me? This is so stupid. What are you talking about? Lying Ted's back to his old tricks. Yep.
Hold on. Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
We are commanded as Christians with the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And we're
What does that mean, Israel?
But why? Why? Also, wait, that doesn't even make sense. Because, so, didn't they make Israel in 1948? And didn't they make the Bible a lot before then? So how could you be commanded to support Israel if the Bible didn't even know what Israel was? I don't know. I think that's dumb. What the hell are you talking about?
Told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is?
What is it?
That would be the country you've asked 49
well, the Bible didn't know what Israel is, so what's Israel?
questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
the
God's referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is.
How do you... No. Who decided that? That's bullshit. This is insane. Tyson. What the hell are you talking about?
Okay. And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
He's the guy.
Just like you know, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
you believe that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Oh my God.
Jeez, just talking shit. I know.
I don't know the population.
At all?
92 million.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
Pre-wash? No, it's not pre-wash. They've talked about it 5 times.
How many people living around?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
how could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's, it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
What would it matter what their ethnicity is if they have a nuclear bomb?
And another
this is
big
the reason why I don't like these online debates, is because it's a blood sport for retards. To be fair, Ted Cruz should have known there's about 10 to 11 million people in Tehran, right? You got to know that because you just had them evacuate. Like, you should know that. And you should know how many people are in the area. You absolutely should know that.
He doesn't know that, though.
And so
problem.
It's a quiz show. It's 16 million. I heard it was 10 to 11. But Ted guy is right. The majority are Persian and Shia. Well, I'm not sure. It's your basic homework. You should know. He should know. He definitely should know the population, but you understand that, like, that's not really an argument against, like, what he's saying. It's got nothing to do with what he's saying. It's basically like, I am going to argue against a point that you're not making, or sorry, I'm going to argue in favor of something that has nothing to do with the topic so I can make you look bad in a tangential way. It's a gotcha question. It is. It's a gotcha question. And nobody gonna know everything, right?
No.
It's a side topic. It is.
Yeah, but he didn't know the
You're
first
retarded
part.
if you don't even know the ethnicity or population. You're probably also not read enough to know if they have the ability to make anything are correlated. So if you don't know the population, like, I don't know about that. I mean, you think about it like there's plenty of countries
if you don't know
that
the
are
population.
Like, I mean, if people say Israel has bombs, Israel's not a huge country at all. It's not true, yeah. I mean, you should know the GDP maybe or something else, how much money they put in the military, but that's it. The ethnic groups can inform people on local politics, knowing who's most likely to overthrow current administration, who's brainwashed to defend it, etc. Well, you already know what the data on that is. I don't know if Ted Cruz does know.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
They're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe...
Because that's not the right option. That's not the way to do it.
True.
Well, why would you do that?
Carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well,
this fucking obviously.
You're breaking news here because the...
It's not breaking news. This has been happening for 10 years, 20 years.
U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
Yeah, we're giving them money.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to take out their nuclear.
I have to say that the way the light is on this, really makes it look like Ted Cruz has a Hitler mustache. I've got to say it. And I'm right,
shit. Right? Yo.
Look
Stop.
Look at you. Do you see it?
I can't unsee it now.
Uh-oh. That's a whole lot. That's bad.
But
capacity. That makes America much safer. So you want to ask...
So, I mean, these are just clips, bro. They're just clips.
It's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that, where is that? Like, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where is the...
Well, yeah, because they probably don't want to say it, because then that's going to... I mean, this is probably what I assume. I bet there have probably been over 50 attempts on Donald Trump's life that we don't even know about. Because the Secret Service stops him before it even goes anywhere.
That could be a possibility.
But and they're not going to go out and say it's classified. Yeah, it's classified information. But it's fucking exactly.
Yeah, you don't release how that you got them.
The evidence. Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
That's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because
he has access to classified documents and information that you don't. Obviously. Like, what do you mean? He's a senator and you're not. Like, I mean, that's obviously the reason why.
We have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
If they knew Iran was trying to assassinate him, they would bomb Iran? No, they wouldn't. Why would they do that? So, no, because like then that has its own risk. No, they wouldn't.
Not necessarily.
Congress has in the public. I mean, we had multiple testimonies. I can send you testimony.
Do we know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We do not. We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know
that, bro. You see what he's saying, bro. He loves doing this. He is not answering the question because it's classified. Like, the thing is, I wish Ted Cruz would just go say, like, listen, like, I can't talk about this shit. Like, this is classified data information. That's it.
Yeah, why doesn't he just say that
try and kill
them?
So why bomb them?
Fucking around and lying, trying to be
that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States.
Yes, and by the way, like Iran...
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
Right, but I've never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now, we should, like, have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No.
If they're trying to...
No.
Assassinate our president?
They have been for 2 years.
Then why are we at war with them?
Well, we are trying to...
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's no...
We gotta ask Grok or Google it. It's public info released by the Department of Justice in November 2024. Iran tried to kill Trump. Man, is this I don't know. Why would you even say this?
Nothing that you could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't understand why you're not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're trying to murder...
What the fuck?
Nuclear weapons. See,
whatever
that's part of the problem of...
So what do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegations seriously. I do. If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
No, maybe not. He's absolutely being disingenuous. You can't decor anyone who poses a threat. Yes. Let's see. I'll look at a few of these.
I don't understand. For some reason, you
this is some crazy back and forth.
Are really invested in defending Russia, and I don't get that. I'm not attacking you with that. I'm genuinely like I don't get why you're so passionate about defending Russia.
Why?
Bro, that was some Joker laugh.
Defending Russia.
Yeah, dude.
That was some Joker laugh shit. God damn, what's going on with this?
said that they're willing to spend money to do that.
Opposed to that. It's awful. I am against killing anybody, actually. Okay. But I just want to...
well, we are trying to
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to... I am against killing anybody, actually.
Okay.
There's a dilemma here. I'm starting to see something. Seeing some sort of dilemma? I don't know what it is.
Ted Cruz only shows clips that put him in the best light? Yeah, and what do you think Tucker Carlson is showing? The most hated game dev. Do you guys think that Neil Druckmann...
That shit was nuts.
Let's go right to Mike Tobin with the latest on the ground in Tel Aviv. Mike.
Battle begin.
Hey there, Todd. The Iranian
look at this
missile attacks
neck.
continued here in central Israel overnight. There were two separate attacks that came just after midnight local time. That caused people here in Tel Aviv in particular to scramble for the bomb shelters. The missile defense systems did their jobs. Multiple explosions in the skies over Tel Aviv. Several missiles did reach the ground. A parking lot was hit. No reports of injury. Israeli warplanes were active last night. The IDF says some 50 fighter jets took to the air and hit some 20
God damn, 50 jets? What the fuck?
Targets in Iran overnight. The targets include sites that produce raw materials and components for missiles. Israel sent warnings into southwest Tehran for people to evacuate before targets were struck there.
We've struck deep, hitting Iran's nuclear, ballistic, and command capabilities. The Iranian regime has spent years getting closer to a nuclear weapon. They have spent billions building a ballistic missile program. Our mission is clear: to remove the threat at its source.
Yeah, good. Great.
The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem announced it is closing during this stage of the conflict. This follows damage to the U.S. consulate in Tel Aviv caused by a missile impact. No injuries resulting from that. It is also in step with most of the businesses in Israel closing while the missile attacks continue. President Trump and Iran's leader traded shots over social media.
The bombs,
President Trump posting unconditional surrender, implying that is meant for the Grand Ayatollah. Khamenei, for his part, posted the battle begins 6 days into this stage of the conflict. Carly and Todd.
And Mike, you know,
he says the battle begins. Well, they probably know where you are on a satellite that's in outer space. Meanwhile, you're tweeting out AI videos of you blowing up Israel, and all your rockets are getting intercepted, and you're so afraid of people figuring this out that you have to turn off the internet. Like, what are you thinking? What a retard.
Long Iran has used its terror proxies, Hezbollah and the Houthis, to do their dirty work. Have those groups said anything about jumping into this and helping Iran out now?
Aren't they all dead?
Well, the Houthis have fired several missiles in the direction of Israel at this point. We have out of Lebanon.
Yeah, but they do that all the time. It doesn't even matter.
On word, certainly, that the president, Joseph Aoun, is encouraging Hezbollah to stay out of the fight. Keep in mind that Hezbollah...
That is going to be really funny if, like, Iran has sent these clowns money for so many years, and it's going to be like the, you know, like the Syrian, I think it's Syrian president, like, used to be an ISIS, you know, like, fucking leader, you know, he had a 10 million bounty, and then, like, Trump meets him, you know, after he takes over Syria, basically, he's like, yeah, really good-looking guy, super tough military history. And then next thing you know, he goes and he says, yeah, we're going to shoot down any... Yeah, if you want to... you want to shoot missiles at Iran? Yeah, you can use our airspace. It's fine. Like, are they going to have their own fucking terrorists roaching out on them? I think that's what might happen.
Has been badly weakened since this war began following October 7th. And the people of Lebanon have endured now 4,000 people who have been killed during this stage of the conflict and $11 billion in damage. So you can see why Lebanon's president is encouraging Hezbollah to stay out of it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, what a difference a pager attack makes. Mike Tobin, live for us in Tel Aviv. Mike, thank you so much.
Well, they killed their main guy, that Hassan Nasrallah. Like, that was their main dude. And that guy was smart, man. He was a smart guy. He was a good talker. And, you know, you get rid of him, and things aren't looking so good. And his successor, yeah.
Much. Let's go now to former Assistant Secretary of State Brian Hook. Brian, good morning.
You're right.
Thank you so
Not
much for
smart
joining
enough.
us. What options do President Trump have on the table right now?
Well, I think the president's chief focus, based on what he said, is the diplomatic track, which he has been pursuing with Steve Witkoff after many rounds of talks with the Iranian regime to try to reach a diplomatic solution to this urgent problem of Iran's nuclear program. But the Iranians have been playing cat and mouse diplomacy for quite some time now, and I think patience is wearing thin with this sort of tactic, which is a hallmark of the Iranian.
Well, this is what they do. They say we're not building it, and they say, okay, well then show it to us. Well, we can't show it to you. Well, why? Well, we don't need to know. You're not. Yeah, maybe you're not showing it to them because you're building it. No, that's not the. No. You don't understand.
Regime. As President Trump said in the first term, Iran has never won a war and never lost a negotiation. This is what Iran is good at. But I think after all these...
That's clever. That is clever.
These rounds of inconclusive talk and
so he's saying they're just fucking lying and making up a bunch of bullshit, so why even deal with them? Yeah.
Being so successful at degrading Iran's nuclear and military capabilities, the United States now has to take a serious look.
I mean, people are afraid of nothing. No one will get involved for Iran. This is not going to be a global war. I do think it's really funny that Iran pumped all of this money into these terrorist organizations, and even they are roaching out on Iran. And people think Russia is going to come and help them. That is embarrassing.
What to do to strengthen the diplomatic track through the military option.
Okay, let's pick it up there. The prevailing wisdom is that there would not be boots on the ground in any Iranian war. Assuming you agree with that, as President Trump makes this calculus as to whether or not we're going to join this war or not and how we would join it, what are the cons to joining if American boots would not be on the ground?
Money.
And presumably, if our first salvo in joining this war is the bunker buster bomb.
What's the negatives?
Well, the president has a good group of people around him advising him on a range of options. So far, America's involvement in this conflict has been on the defensive side, helping Israel defend itself from the Iranian missile attacks that were described earlier. And so I think now the president clearly giving an option for the Iranian leader to come and sort this out peacefully. There are a range of offensive options that I think are before the president, and he's weighing those, you know, based on circumstances on the ground. But that can confuse. That can be helping with refueling missions. It can involve joint strikes with the Israelis, and it also can involve an American bomber taking out the nuclear facility in Iran, which is the most significant of all of the nuclear facilities in Fordo.
That is the big one.
And Brian, if the Iranian nuclear threat is eliminated, what message does that...
Even Jordan is helping with intercepting rockets from Iran, like nobody likes them? Yeah, nobody likes Iran. Exactly. Yeah, fuck them.
Send to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping?
I think it strengthens President Trump's hand globally in other conflicts. If he is successful, either through a peaceful route, which I think is the preferred route, or something more kinetic, if he...
This bullshit language they use is so funny to me. Like, this is amazing. You're talking about kinetic? Oh, my God. I know you're isolationist, but you think U.S. presence in the Middle East is better so we can keep influence on Asian continent, especially with Russia and China? Well, I've always been pro-trade. I'm a big fan of trade. I think trade is what's going to modernize the Middle East. I think it already has. Look at Saudi Arabia. And I'm not an isolationist. Whenever I say I'm an isolationist, I mean I'm not a war. There's isolationist and there's war interventionist. I'm about like right here.
We were to be successful in taking out this decades-long problem of the Iranian nuclear program, I do think it would strengthen his hand globally. Obviously, this is enormously complicated, the sort of the factors and the decisions that are before the president. But Iran now has enough enriched uranium for many nuclear weapons.
I said 9.
And so it is becoming a mounting threat that Israel has
done.
They
blow that shit up as soon as they can. I'm going to be honest. Like, every day that they have that, every day they have any time to, like, every day that you let them go anywhere with that is bad. Yeah, like, they would have to test them. Yeah, but what if they don't? What if they don't test them? They just send them over somewhere else and it causes, like, a massive radioactive fallout. Like, every day you don't do something about this, it gets worse.
A terrific job at degrading, but is not yet eliminated.
What's a kinetic test?
If Iran finally realizes that it is losing, but still refuses to surrender unconditionally, as Donald Trump has asked, what's the worst it could do at this point? In other words, if it wanted
they could probably make another AI video of them blowing up the White House. I mean, I feel like that would be probably the worst that they could do.
I mean,
that'd be
it
probably
could always
worst
get
case
worse.
scenario.
It can always get
go
worse.
out in
And
a
then
blaze
claim
of
victory. And then get arrested and go to jail.
I think that option set is shrinking. Iran has the largest missile inventory of any country in the Middle East.
That's a lot of missiles.
But Israel has taken out so many of its missile launchers. And there's this huge imbalance that it was a vulnerability that the Israelis have exploited with the Iranian regime, that they have more missiles than they have launchers. It's quite a lopsided ratio. Israel has now taken out anywhere between a third and a half of these missile launchers, and as you've seen, night after
this is why they're not popping off anymore.
Oh shit! They ain't got no more launchers.
The number of strikes conducted by Iran has gone down fairly dramatically, and this has allowed Israel to achieve dominance over the skies of Iran, where they can fly as they wish.
They're just doing.
So that is a huge accomplishment. Israel did in 72 hours what President Putin in Russia could not do, still has not done over 3.5 years in Ukraine, to achieve aerial dominance. So the conditions are much more favorable than they were just a few days ago.
Yeah, and I'm hearing that the ease with which
think about that. Yeah, it's embarrassing, right? The shade,
Israel was able to control Iranian airspace even surprised some officials within
shade,
Israel.
Russia.
So it's 5
I mean, the fact that, like, bro, the Ukraine flying lawnmowers just landing them on top of the airplane, then blowing it up. And it's like you have a $400 lawnmower that just deletes a $95 million airplane.
Yeah. Deleted. Control, Alt, Delete.
Like, I just, like... I'd be so fucking furious. I'd be out of my fucking mind.
In the morning on the East Coast.
I wouldn't say embarrassing.
We will see what today brings for the region and the whole world. Brian, thank you for joining us.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade. There it is. It's hilarious. It is, bro. It's like in StarCraft, right? Where, like, you send in a bunch of Zerglings or whatever, and they just kill, like, all the high health. You know, like you have, like, the high Templars, and, like, you're just building them, and then, like, the Zerglings just come and fucking kill them before you can put down the fields. Yeah, I'd be fucking furious. Remember yesterday whenever I said that most people supported Iran not getting a nuclear weapon? And it was overwhelming support for it, and everybody said that I was wrong because y'all were on the internet and you have a completely distorted view of the world. And, you know, everybody, like, I said this, remember, everybody was saying I was wrong. Everybody was getting mad. But the thing is that, as usual, I was right.
This is spammers.
And overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that.
I can't believe 21% of people are retarded. That is a shock.
That's true.
21% of people. I mean, to be fair, this is the same amount of people that think that like transgender should be in fucking the opposite gender sports, right? So, I mean, it's not really a big thing, but there it is.
Still, the fact that 20% of
Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats.
That's what's crazy is Democrats not even that different.
You get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything. You know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public...
It's obvious, bro. People are totally against this shit. Yeah, look at that. Now make a poll of people wanting to remove Israelis' weapons. We can't take their weapons away. It's not going to happen. Like, that's why, again, it's much easier to keep the... Like, once the cat is out of the box, it's hard to put the cat back in the box. The solution is never let the cat out of the box.
Look, is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
It could be
so this is a nuance here, but Trump and Netanyahu both arguing that Iran is close to being capable of making a nuclear weapon. If that is the case, what is the feeling of Americans as to whether the United States should get involved in this conflict?
Right. If you buy Donald Trump's theory of the case, and I think that's important to note.
I don't think we should just get involved. I think we should just take care of the nukes and get out of there.
Look at this. Overall, you get the slight plurality. I mean, it's within the margin of error, but the slight plurality of Americans actually favor U.S. airstrikes compared to 47% opposing it. Now, here's the other nugget I'll note, right? There's been a lot of talk online and on social media and in podcasts of a divide within the Republican ranks. But here on this question, if Iran's trying to make a nuclear weapon, look at that. 69% of Republicans, the clear vast majority of Republicans, favor U.S. airstrikes on Iran, on their nuclear facilities. But there is this substantial minority, 27%, who oppose such an idea. So it's not surprising you're hearing those other voices besides Donald Trump out there. There are plenty of them in the Republican ranks who oppose the U.S. striking Iran if they're trying to make a nuclear weapon. But the clear majority of Republicans are with Donald Trump if, in fact, Iran is trying to make nuclear weapons. They do, in fact, potentially favor U.S. airstrikes.
I was right. I said this. Republicans love bombing people. So you just said right there, Democrats oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons. Says 79% of Democrats. Apparently, Democrats love bombing people, too. Yep, that's it. And that's it. So it's mob rule. Yeah, that's usually how it works. That's yeah, I mean, pretty much. That's about right, yeah.
8 people have been killed and dozens injured in the latest round of missile strikes launched by Iran. Israel's National Emergency Service says multiple locations were hit on Monday morning. Explosions
watching a chat psyop each other is funny. I do want to say that, like, I view this as, like, kind of a good thing that we have a lot of people in here that are very pro-Israel and other people that are very anti-Israel. I think it goes to show that, like, we have an open chat, and, people are able to disagree with each other and have the opinions that they choose to have. And so, yeah, that's what's going to continue happening. There's a lot of very mixed opinions about this.
This is the most American chat I've
seen. You'll get banned if you're like, oh, let's kill everybody in this country. Like, I have to ban you for that. But, like, other than that, you can say whatever you want. You can have whatever opinion you want. Yeah, it's not an echo chamber. Yeah, there's a lot of people that disagree.
Seen in the coastal city of Haifa, where missiles hit near an oil refinery. Central Israel's power grid was also damaged in the latest of the back and forth strikes over the weekend. Israeli officials say at least 23 people have now been killed since Iran's retaliation began.
Jesus.
Meanwhile, in Iran, at least 224 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes this Friday. That's according to the country's Ministry of Health. The IDF vows their strikes will only get more intense from here, but Iran's president says the country's response will escalate as well, putting more innocent lives at risk.
Yep.
Israel knows no boundaries. They intrude wherever they want with permission from America. We are by no means seeking to expand the war, but naturally,
with permission from America.
This is what I've noticed a lot. And I'll say this again. It seems pretty evident that a lot of Iranian hate, or the Iranian government hating America, is because Israel is an extension of America. Like, if Israel wasn't in the picture and Israel, like, for some reason didn't exist, would Iran still have the same hate for America? I don't really think so. I mean, I'm sure they'd still hate us for sure, but it wouldn't even be nearly as precise and demonstrated.
Right.
Absolutely not. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't like. No. What I'm saying, like, I don't think they would be calling us the Great Satan as much because we're on the other side of the world. They'd be more worried about their current local problems. It's just, I mean, what are we thinking about?
IRGC and our dear people have shown appropriate responses have been given so far. The more they try to escalate, naturally, the responses will become tougher and more severe.
I'm surprised that I have any pushback for this topic. Wouldn't it be obvious that if the main antagonist in the region that you're dealing with is being propped up by another really big country, that would be one of the causal reasons that you hate that big country? And if that wasn't there, then there would be less reasons. I mean, I feel like it's logic. It's such
right?
I don't know. Like, I mean, if you break this down and you think about it, just the
conclusion you come to.
Sense. More innocent people may lose their lives.
Jeremy Diamond was at the scene of one missile strike in Tel Aviv and filed this report just a short while ago.
I'm at the site of an Iranian ballistic missile attack in central Tel Aviv. This ballistic missile struck this area in the early hours of this morning, severely damaging 3 residential buildings right behind me. As you can see, in this whole street is littered with debris as rescue crews move in and out, still trying to assess the damage, to find anybody who might be trapped under the rubble, and also to get people out of their apartments.
Remind me about watching the Jets video after this, okay? After this video, I'll watch the Jets thing.
Also folks who have arrived here to try and get back inside to get some of their belongings and to make sure that their loved ones are okay. This is one of 4 ballistic missile attack sites in central Tel Aviv alone. In addition, there was a ballistic missile attack in northern Israel in Haifa as well. More than 70 people were injured in these attacks, according
I think I saw this one earlier.
David Adom, Israel's National Rescue Services.
They got domed.
And of course, we are seeing that these attacks are continuing to escalate, and concern is rising here in Israel about the number of casualties and how many more may come. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Tel Aviv.
Jeremy
You don't have any
Diamond.
military intelligence information, not locally or globally. You don't know how these connections work together. Based off of your grammar, neither do you. So you have plenty of people that want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But, like, I mean, again, so there's 2 universes, right? You are either understanding and knowing classified information and bringing it up in a Twitch chat for an argument, or you're a shit-talking retard that knows just as much as everybody else does, and you just have a different opinion on it. I wonder which one it is.
Let's dig deeper. CNN's Paula Hancock is now joining me from
Hit him
Abu
with the
Dhabi. Paula,
007.
thanks for being with me again. We appreciate it. Things are moving so quickly.
You're right. If we were streaming War Thunder, the first option would be more likely.
Across the region. Tell me, what is the latest that you're seeing now?
Well, Ben, we are seeing the casualty figures going up in Israel, for example, now at 23. The early hour barrage of hundreds of missiles from Iran did hit a number of different areas. Tel Aviv, as Jeremy was showing you there, and also central Israel and some of the coastal areas as well. Now, we know that in Haifa, for example, alongside the coast, that city, there are still fires burning in some areas. There were some missiles that hit, or at least one hit close to an oil refinery in
Well, I thought it
Haifa.
actually hit the refinery. I mean, when I saw the video, it looked like there were a lot of, like, there was a lot of cascading fires and explosions after the missile hit. I think they hit the refinery, didn't they?
Oh, did
it
they?
It sure
really?
seems like they did.
Itself.
I don't
now,
know.
a number of residential buildings across the country have been impacted. We understand from authorities that most of the missiles are being intercepted, but we are seeing that a number are getting through. Certainly, Tehran by far.
I mean, if I look at this, like, I've been paying attention to this and watching this every single day for, like, hours every day. Iran is getting more and more missile strikes through every single day. This is undeniable. Why is that? It's hard to know, but the outcome is very evident.
hundreds of missiles at the same time, is hoping to overwhelm and overpower the missile defense systems of Israel. Now, when it comes to what is happening in Iran, we are seeing panicked residents in Tehran trying to
I think they have less and less missile launchers.
The city that we
don't understand how
gridlock
even
on
possible.
the roads heading north, a more rural and isolated area many people are trying to get to. Gas stations are overcrowded as well, as many are trying to escape the areas they believe may be more dangerous. Now, we've heard from the Israeli military,
not a surprise there,
that Iranian residents should move away and evacuate if they live anywhere near a weapons production facility, because they say that that is a target. This was announced on Sunday.
Okay.
And then just a matter of hours later, an announcement came from the Iranian authorities telling Israeli residents to move and evacuate if they are anywhere near the Israeli military. So both sides still claiming that they are targeting the military infrastructure of the other country. But clearly we are seeing residents and civilians are being impacted.
It's very hard to say, like, who's targeting more civilians, because Iran has killed less civilians, but it seems like they're bombing more indiscriminately, but the missiles get intercepted. And there have been more Iranian citizens that have died, but that's because Israel doesn't have as many of its bombs getting intercepted. So it's very hard to say. You kidding me? Does it matter, really? Well, it's worth discussing and bringing up, yeah.
Showing no sign of backing down. What's their end game? Some say regime change. For others, they say it's about eliminating Iran's nuclear capabilities completely.
We've set them back dramatically, but not enough. And that's why this series of strikes is not going to end today or tomorrow, but only at a period of time, which may take weeks, when we are absolutely certain that the nuclear infrastructure, with the intention of weaponizing and threatening Israel, is terminated.
What's clear?
I don't see that being the end of it. I don't, because even their prime minister Netanyahu said yesterday that the missiles and the nuclear stuff was only half of the problem. It was also because they had ICBMs.
I know. That's what
like, so, I mean, I feel like that's not even true.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when he said that yesterday?
Here is that this is a conflict that has the potential to lead to a broader regional war, with the risk of pulling in major powers, including the U.S. The Trump administration is already walking a major diplomatic tightrope. Joining me now is CNN Global Affairs analyst Kim Dozier. Kim, as always, welcome back. I want to start with the sort of physical battle. At first, it was the military leaders, nuclear facilities. How has this changed over the last even 48 hours?
They also took out some of the Iranian scientists in civilian areas, which meant civilian casualties.
Yeah.
We're seeing them expand a bit to energy facilities.
The Israelis?
Oh, shit.
The Israelis.
Yeah.
On the Iranian side, last time they volleyed missiles at Israel in April 2024, they stuck to military sites. This time they're using a lot less care, and according to the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they are using dumb missiles, ones that can't be guided. But Iran only had 2,000 some odd ballistic missiles to begin with.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's because I grew up playing Metal Gear Solid and I watched like 9/11 happen and everything. But like every time that I hear something like that and someone says, oh, they're using these dumb missiles that are ending up hitting these residential spots, I don't know. I mean, like the dumb missiles, what they mean is they're not guided with like what I'm assuming is that they're not like guided by like a satellite or remotely or anything like that. Because they're choosing which missiles to shoot down, right? Is there a possibility that they are letting some missiles get through, letting them hit residential areas, so it looks like they're being attacked and Iran is bombing them indiscriminately? Is that possible? I don't know.
We don't quite know how many drones, and they have to preserve them because much of their leadership has
'cause
been
how
taken out,
come
much of their air
bombs
defenses have
keep
been taken
getting
out.
through?
And now every time they move a launch platform
I
to
doubt
try
they
to
would do
hide from
that.
the Israelis,
I don't think that's the most likely outcome, but I don't, in general, like, this is how I see it. It's very obvious that Israel wants to look like, they want to look like they're being attacked and their civilians are being killed, because that's what's going to get more people in the West to support them. And whenever somebody has an interest that aligns with an outcome, when that outcome happens, I am suspicious of how it happened. And that is and by the way, think about how I'm speaking in generalities here. I'm not even talking about this specific thing. I'm saying in general, when coincidence and personal gain converge in a lot of cases, and at least you should approach it from this perspective, sometimes it's not a coincidence. That's all I'm saying.
Sometimes they're
I don't
forcing
even know
it.
if it's true. But I feel like I bring this stuff up because a lot of the other people that say this kind of stuff that I'm saying are crazy. And it's like they're like so ideologically captured by like one side, it's not really worth taking them seriously. That's a base take. Rarity on the internet. Yeah, Israel won't do it. Well, that's a lot of top tier. That's a top tier country that praises life, not death. Sure, and that country fights for each hostage. They wouldn't let their people die. Netanyahu is measured by its people. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think that it's important to keep your guard up and to remain analytical, and not to let scenes like this shift your logical thinking. I think that anytime somebody, this is again just the way that I feel, but anytime that a person tries to subvert my logical thinking and then reframe it into emotional thinking, the majority of times, and I'm talking like 95% of the majority of times, probably higher, the reason why is to get me to agree to something that is not logically in my best interest. That's it.
Yes.
You're talking about fear-mongering? Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
and so of course I think like
fear-mongering
this.
us.
So anytime that I see something like this, my guard immediately goes up.
Israelis are watching and taking those out.
Now, this means a lot of
Yeah, 'cause
people are
it's a
saying
red
that
flag.
this is the right time to go
That's
for
what I've been
regime
thinking. They're
change.
trying
The
to-
reporting over the weekend, we have it at CNN as well.
I think these sneaky fuckers are antagonizing a
Well,
war.
that the White
They're
House
trying to
decided
trick us.
not to go for to kill Iran's supreme leader, be part of
They
that.
should be able.
What?
They should be blocking all the missiles. They took out over. They just bragged that they took over half their launchers, and they were only getting a few in before. So with half the launching capability, how is this even possible?
What would regime change mean in this moment? Is Iran just that vulnerable? What is
And if the
question
missiles
White
are
House
so
is
dumb,
facing?
why can't they take care of it?
The Israelis would like regime change. Netanyahu has said as much. But from the Trump administration perspective, the only reason to say no to the Israelis to taking out the supreme leader is to preserve the opportunity to go back to those talks, to use this good cop, bad cop that Israel...
Well, because if you kill him, then that card is off the table.
Yep.
And you can't negotiate with it anymore. Like I've always had this
Yeah, how are you
mindset.
supposed
Like,
to
you know, when I
negotiate
was
with dead
a
people?
kid, like I played Magic the Gathering a lot, and I always remember, like, I played drafts, and I did very well. I would win drafts regularly on Friday Night Magic, and I realized that there's a lot of psychology that goes into that, especially like playing card games. And having a card in your hand is always better than playing it when you don't have to. And it's like you never use leverage unless you can utilize it in the most efficient way.
Capacity.
So of course they don't want to kill the main guy, because that's like losing your queen in chess. That's your main thing that you can do.
Israel is taking out all
holding a land like it's a counter. Yeah, you're playing against a blue deck. They have a card in their hand. Is it an island or is it a counter spell? You don't know. A red deck. Is it a fireball or is it a mountain? You don't know.
Iran's military, but also economic might,
That's
what it
just
needs
how
to
that's how I
survive,
think.
and then saying, okay,
Magic the
you've
Gathering.
got to negotiate with us to keep your people fed.
Very logical take.
Keeping the supreme leader alive preserves that possibility, but I think it underestimates the pride of the Iranian regime having been taken out like this. I don't think they'll be back to peace talks anytime soon.
Yeah, we've heard so much from about Israel and the idea of the Operation
just
Roaring
depends on
Lion.
what
But I
happens,
actually
not
was
what you
thinking
think.
about something else, which is this idea of like the octopus doctrine, that Iran was at the center of something with many tentacles that was always threatening to Israel. What do you see now with this latest proactive attack on
So the
Iran?
octopus
How
is
far has
after
Israel gone
Israel.
in doing what it hoped to do?
Well, one of the reasons Israel couldn't do this before
Kraken.
is there were hundreds of missiles in Lebanon pointed at major Israeli cities. It would have been much worse than the volley that we've seen hit Haifa and some of the suburbs of Tel Aviv so far this time around. But by taking Hezbollah out in Lebanon and by taking other proxies out, Yemen still has...
And you can see how Israel had a long-term plan to make this happen. I think Israel's plan was always to bomb Iran. And I think that them destroying their satellite defense groups like Hezbollah was all part of and in service of that goal.
Has capability, but they're far away. They have really allowed this kind of attack to go forward. And this is one of the reasons pushing them into this attack. Never again would Iran be so undefended. So from the Israeli perspective, they have made their country safer, even if they're going to be facing this volley of missiles in the coming weeks.
And even now, it's not clear where Iran would turn to, correct, for any kind of support.
Arab leaders are speaking in favor of Iran, even Saudi Arabia calling them brothers, because in the Arab and Islamic street, people are furious over this. And even though the White House is trying to say, we didn't take part in this attack, they're still being seen as part and parcel and backing this violence against Iran, especially because...
Anything bad that Israel does will be blamed on the United States, because I think that it is a generally understood reality that Israel acts usually under the direction or awareness or allowance of the United States.
They're protecting Israel.
You know, Kim, thank you so much. Always a lot of context when I speak with you. I appreciate it.
Give me a second. Yeah, and so Israel's been looking forward to step up to Iran for most of the 2000s. I can guarantee you U.S. or other countries has one somewhere. Part of the military's job is make a bunch of plans for potential situations might happen in the future. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the smart thing that you would do, right? I mean, of course you would do that. I mean, if you didn't do that, you'd be a fucking moron. And so anyway, no, this is what's obviously been happening for a while. And I will look at the jets as well, but it seems like very clearly, and they're even saying it's going to be even worse today.
Straight to a Fox News alert. At least 85 people were hurt in the latest Iraq.
Boy. Let me see if we got any more. I think that'll do it. Oh, shit.
The latest Iranian ballistic missile attack. This in Tel Aviv and
wait a minute.
And beyond.
The hospital got blown.
How's nobody dead? Dude. Like, I'm sorry. Maybe this is like it's a bad way of saying this, but how's nobody dead whenever you hit somebody with a ballistic missile? The sirens? I guess so. But like, so seriously though, okay, they were warned. Okay.
In southern Israel, young children are among the wounded in the attack.
Yep.
And earlier, our foreign correspondent Greg Palcott capturing footage of Israeli air defenses trying to stop the incoming fire.
Yep.
They're not taking a break. We've been listening to the anti-missile defense.
That's a big fucking missile. Holy shit. Is that the new one Iran made?
There's a couple right there. It's a wake-up call for this country, for the city, that this war between...
That's the sun? Oh, wow. That is really big. Jesus.
Between Iran and Israel is still on.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is promising to, quote, exact the full price from the tyrants in Tehran. Mike Tobin is live in Israel at the scene of one of those attacks. Good morning, Mike.
Yeah.
Good morning, Griff. Yeah, this is a scene where one of the missiles got through the air defenses and struck in the middle of Ramat Gan. That's a neighborhood here in Tel Aviv. As I step out of the way, I can tell you it's kind of a modernized both residential and business area. And what you're looking at now is pretty much the center of the impact. I'm told by Magen David Adom EMT that one of the missiles did make a direct hit on a building here. And what you're looking at is a lot of
Isn't that kind of an L missile, though? I mean, like, if you make a direct hit and most of the windows aren't even broken, like, what is it filled with? Popcorn?
Damage from the shrapnel and the force of the blast as it went through this modernized neighborhood. Remarkably, you talk about 35 people who were injured. Those injuries are mostly minor.
Yeah, it seems like, by the way, my understanding of this is that the civilian buildings that were damaged as a result of the shockwave. It seemed, and Iran claims, that it was not targeting a civilian building, and instead it was targeting a nearby military building. They claim that. That's what they said.
6 serious injuries, and it's quite dramatic, the fact that there aren't more casualties because of these massive missiles that are crashing down, and that's largely because Israelis are respecting the warnings and heading to the bomb shelters. Now, there was also a missile that hit in the area of Tel Aviv in a town called, or a neighborhood, I should say, called Holon. That is an older residential area, and again, you have dramatically minimized casualties given the force of the impact of that missile that made it through the defenses. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as you mentioned, got to social media, and he said that the tyrants in Iran, that Israel will exact the full price from the tyrants in Iran. The defense minister, Yisrael Katz, made this statement that the attacks or the air campaign in Iran will only intensify. Had a conversation with an IDF spokesman this morning.
I'm glad it's not
what that means, and he says Israel has been picking targets in Iran for decades.
Damn.
Well, this is an ongoing operation, and our goals are very clear: to remove these existential threats from the civilian of Israel. And we're saying this is a preview. This morning, we saw a preview of what could happen if we let Iran keep going this way. And their goal was to have thousands and thousands of these ballistic missiles on Israeli civilians, and on top of that, nuclear weapons.
Yeah, I would assume that Iran is trying to build a bunch of... I mean, they only say every single day, basically, that they want to destroy Israel, right? I mean, this is like... I feel like that's kind of... You know how, like, Trump runs on, like, immigration? I feel like that's kind of like their version of immigration. They're talking about that a lot.
Now, to the south of here is the town of Beersheba. In Beersheba is the Soroka Hospital. That hospital took a direct hit from an Iranian...
Should we trust them, whether they were actually intentionally trying to hit a military building? I don't know whether you should or not. It's very hard to say. I mean, in general, I wouldn't trust them, but they haven't come out and...
Definitely looks like a shockwave damage.
I don't remember them coming out and saying that they didn't mean to hit any civilian targets. So the fact that they said it with this one seems like, oh, maybe that's true, but I don't know. It's impossible. That's the thing with people that are liars, right? You never know when they're telling the truth. Does it really matter? Yeah, I think it absolutely matters. Absolutely, I think it does. So, like, if you're a country and you're trying to bomb a hospital, that's very different than trying to bomb a military base near a hospital. Yeah, that's a completely different universe in my mind. Yeah, absolutely. Like, killing people as a goal versus killing people as collateral damage is what separates a war from terrorism. It's absolutely different. And by the way, it's different even here if you kill somebody in the U.S. It's the difference between murder and manslaughter. So, yes, absolutely it matters. It matters on every single logical and ethical apparatus that exists.
Missile
intent
overnight.
Always matters.
A few reasons that the casualties were minimized there.
So war is manslaughter? Yeah, I guess in that metaphor, yes. I know you're trying to oversimplify my words to make it sound like I'm making war sound like it's not a big deal, and you're trying to like reframe what I'm saying in a way that's disingenuous. I'm not afraid of some bad clip coming out of me saying something in the wrong way, because the only thing I'm going to do is farm a bunch of retards like you tomorrow on Twitter for a new video about it. Everybody knows that's not what I mean, and anybody who believes that it is are retards that are not really worth my attention. So go ahead.
The Soroka Hospital is within rocket range of the Gaza Strip. That means for more than a decade now they have been fortifying and reinforcing that hospital to take rocket strikes that minimize the damage. And also, just by chance last night, the decision was made to draw down the patients and staff in the old surgical building that was hit. So again, casualties are minimal. Now, Israeli fighter jets were active in the skies over Iran overnight. They hit a weapons production facility, according to the IDF, in the area of Natanz. Also, an old reactor that was inactive, a heavy water reactor in the town of Arak, not to be confused with Iraq, the country, A-R-A-K. Griff, back to you.
Hey, Mike, just real quick. These are not considered dumb bombs. They're not these ballistic missiles that just go in the vicinity. They seem to have targets, which makes one believe they were targeting a hospital.
They said they weren't, but yeah,
well,
I mean,
according to the Iranian news agencies, what they were targeting was an Israeli intelligence and military base that was very near the hospital. But yeah, when you say missile, that means something you can aim. A rocket is usually, a flying pipe bomb.
Right. Got it. Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm right.
Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, great. A flying pipe bomb.
Fox News alert, #1 story in the world right now. Israel releasing footage of an airstrike on an Iranian heavy water reactor in Arak, A-R-A-K. The latest attack on Iran's nuclear program, sending massive plumes of smoke into the air.
And smoke seen over southern Israel after Iran carried out a direct strike on a hospital. A series of strikes by Tehran, injuring at least 89 people in and around Tel Aviv.
So let's go right to Mike Tobin. He is live in Israel at the scene of one of those Iranian strikes. Mike?
Exactly, Ainsley. This is Ramat Gan, where the cleanup is underway right now. Ramat Gan is on the east side of Tel Aviv. And as I step out of the shot, I can give you an idea of just how powerful the warhead was on that missile as it came through. The damage here stretches over several blocks. You've got a lot of apartment buildings, businesses, retail that are in here. The balconies are destroyed. Windows are broken out for blocks around the impact zone. And one of the things you might see, a lot of the trash is being pushed out of the high-rise right now, so you might see some debris coming down. Also, Holon on the south side of Tel Aviv. That's an older residential area. That took a direct hit. And a hospital called Soroka in the southern part of Israel was hit. When you talk about the dozens of people who were injured, most of those injuries are light. And I spoke with a paramedic out here this morning that says the reason you don't have more serious injuries is simply because the Israeli people are listening to those sirens.
Yeah, they're hiding.
The population is highly committed to the security and safety here, and we can see that even from rockets like this one, very little or few casualties because people are turning to the shelters and staying safe when the alarm sounds.
Following the ballistic missile attack, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to X and posted, we, meaning Israel, will exact a price from the tyrants in Iran. What did he mean by that? Israeli fighter jets were active over Iran today.
They just immediately bombed the ship.
Nuclear weapons development facility in the town of Natanz, but also hit an inactive heavy water reactor in the town of Arak. Shit. So still very active scene over Iran, and the Israelis say they have air superiority, so the Israeli fighter jets can pretty much
that's true, by the way.
Pick off targets at will. Guys, back to you.
You know, Mike, we're just talking, what if people have a job? Like if Brian were doing radio, would you be able to do that in one of the bunkers? Because you're interrupted in the middle of your day, and right now it's constant.
Well, you often see guys who will pick up and move to the bunkers in the middle of a live broadcast. And you see that with the local television.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of an understanding. It's like, oh, guys, I just got an alert that said I'm going to die if I don't go underneath the bunker. I'm going to have to go do that. And everybody's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. Understandable.
Yeah, why?
As well.
Why is this a question?
As people working here in this business
I would believe that.
/ residential area, the one thing we see them bringing out, or two things
You're
we see them
fired
bringing
if you
out
go
as they're
away.
allowed one at a time back into their offices and apartment buildings are their briefcases and the CPUs from their personal computers.
So life still goes on.
Mike, you were showing us
CPUs
in the building behind you and talking about specifically the
You can only
warhead
bring the
and damage
CPU?
that it did. We've seen
What is that?
As each day goes by, it seems like the Iranians have fired fewer missiles, but are they using stronger warheads? Is that sort of
I'm curious
a
about that
thing that's happening there?
Well, I think in this stage of the conflict, ever since Operation Rising Lion started, they went into their arsenal and they got things like their Fajr rockets, which are considerably more powerful than the Katyusha rockets that we saw come out of South Lebanon, and dramatically more powerful than the Qassam rockets, which are made in machine shops in the Gaza Strip.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, they got the RTX fucking
about
5.
Israel and about Iran. Israel is fighting to remove the nuclear and missile threat ended on our nation. We're targeting.
Yeah, I've repeated this multiple times, but I'll say it again. This is the one part of alignment that I think that we have with Israel, is that I think that it's in our best interest to get rid of Iran's nuclear capabilities. Outside of that, I see no business dealing with Iran. Like, I don't want to start a war with them. I don't want to bomb them.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking give Israel bombs to bomb them. I don't want to I don't want to participate in regime change. I don't want to have anything to do with this shit other than just get rid of the nukes and then I'm done. That's it. I'm out. Yep, we did our part and then we are done. You fucking retard. Again, guys, there are people, there are going to be disagreeers. If you want to have a disagreement, that's fine, but you have to bring up an argument. An insult or condescension will just immediately get you banned. An instant ban. I'm not even going to wait. I don't want to hear why. There's just no reason to do that. Yesterday, we were supporting bombing. I have never supported bombing Iran in general. I've never supported that. I've never said that. I have had the same viewpoint ever since the beginning, that the nuclear weapons are an existential threat and they need to be solved. Everything else besides that, I don't care about. That is between Israel and Iran.
Yes. Yep. That's how I feel about
the
it.
nuclear facilities. That's it. They don't have nukes. If they did, Israel wouldn't have attacked. This conflict is very scary to me. It's very scary because the types of arguments and the things that people say are so stupid that it really makes me worry. It does. I'm really worried. I didn't realize people were I thought people were stupid. But this is a whole different level. Oh my God. Half the people here are stupider than the average person. No, everybody in my chat is smart, and the people that are disagreeing are random chatters from other places. None of my viewers are stupid. All my viewers are smart. Everybody else's viewers are stupid, except for mine.
Military sites.
And also viewers of friends of mine, too. They're also smart.
We're targeting nuclear sites. We're targeting missile sites. They're targeting a hospital. In this hospital, there are patients who are immobile. They can't even move.
I mean, Hamas said the same thing about Israel whenever Israel was bombing Palestine. And then, Israel was like, yeah, but they have stuff in the hospital or near the hospital. And so it just happened. Like, I don't think there's really... I don't really think that they have, the moral high ground with this. I think the number of hospitals that Israel has bombed, correct me if I'm wrong, is 36.
Yeah.
That's the number, right? 36?
Right next to it is a children's ward, a baby's ward, infants. They target it.
It's a lot.
Fox News alert now. There you saw it moments ago. The Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the site of a bombed-out hospital, warning Iran's supreme leader, you cannot continue to exist. Wow. After overnight missile strikes killed innocent civilians and those wounded, or over 80. Our next guest knows all about the Mideast war and terror. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Ken Tobo joins us. He led 6 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and joins us now. Your reaction to what the Prime Minister just said, Ken, about, you know what, this guy can't continue to exist.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good example of the fact that the Iranians use basically indiscriminate weapons, both missiles, terrorism, and other effects that are
Yeah, Iranians are fucking terrorists. I mean, the government is fucking, they're funding terrorists. I mean, like, it's a terrorist government. I mean, like, what the fuck do you say?
Indiscriminate weapons, both missiles, terrorism, and other effects that are generally directed against civilian populations and frankly, targets that Western militaries would not target. And I think what you see with the Israeli approach is a very precise campaign and to try and limit collateral damage, but to have effect on the nuclear program.
So, General, when people say, this is not our fight, America doesn't have a fight with Iran, this is Israel's problem, do you feel differently?
That's the way I feel.
Yeah, I'm from that generation that has watched Iranians fight against U.S. and U.S. interests really since 1979 when they took our embassy. They've bombed embassies, Khobar towers, through Lebanese Hezbollah, one of their terrorist groups that they sponsor and fund. They've executed attacks on Americans really worldwide. And of course, during the Iraq War, they were a significant threat to us on the ground, and through their explosively formed penetrators that they were providing to the Shia militias, were killing Americans in large numbers.
You
shouldn't have been there. In my opinion, shouldn't have been there in the first place. Yeah, shouldn't have been there. Like, again, the only issue that I have is the nukes. Yep, we never needed to be there. I mean, what is this? I mean, basically, like, and by the way, Iran government is bad. Like, they're bad. Like, if I could push a button and it would replace them with a better government, I think everybody would push that button, right? And they're crazy. They do support terrorists. That's true. But, like does this warrant us going over there and, you know, like, spending lives and trillions of dollars? I don't think so. I just don't think so.
You said, you know, we dropped the bunker busters. They'll do the job in Fordo. The reaction.
Let the people revolt
if
instead.
You were on the ground in Iraq, in Syria, in Bahrain, our base in Bahrain, or Qatar, where do you think we'd be most vulnerable if they wanted to react? Should it be clear?
Don't you think you'd say that to families of fallen soldiers, though? Whether or not we should have been there doesn't really matter if U.S. citizens get murdered. Okay, so then why would you? Absolutely, you have to. Like, you're making an emotional appeal. Wow, well, you wouldn't say that to somebody who had a dead kid.
Right.
There's a reason why people who are victims of crimes don't get to sit on the jury. It's because they're not making an active decision. Or they're not making an unbiased decision. Yes, obviously. They're going to feel differently because they were personally affected by it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't make a decision that way. That's not on Zach. That's on the government. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't let emotions make decisions for you. If you do, you're going to make bad decisions. The second we start bombing Iran, they're going to attack our bases. There's no we'll only go this far option in the conflict. We've already evacuated the bases. We already evacuated a tremendous amount of the bases and the embassies and all that.
That we dropped the bunker busters on Fordo.
I am quite sure that our military commanders globally are on alert and preparing the capability to defend our troops.
They got
I think when you look at the Middle East, the Iranian capability is largely ballistic missiles, short, medium, and long range. And so I am sure that all those bases are worried about their air defenses and paying close attention to the news.
It's amazing. Their axis of resistance has been very quiet because they know the people that have been supplying them are getting their head kicked in. This is a big day. The 73rd anniversary, the birthday of the Green Beret. What is the Green Beret? People like you. How have you contributed to our armed forces?
I thought they had that for way longer.
The Green Berets, the U.S. Army Special Forces, are really a unique portion of our military capability. Really the only organization in the U.S. military that's solely focused on working with indigenous partners, such as resistance elements and other partners, primarily to overthrow occupying powers or enemy adversary regimes. So kind of think World War II, think folks parachuting into France to help the French resistance overthrow the Nazi regime. And that is the prime focus of Green Berets. Obviously, we do other things in when called to, like help governments fight their own internal stability problems. But that was the reason for the creation of the Green Berets in 1952.
Now
yeah,
more
basically
than ever.
Metal Gear Solid.
Absolutely. When you look at the world situation, we're in a competition with adversaries, China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and a lot of that competition is what we call the gray zone. It's below the threshold of conventional war. It's about creating influence with
Metal Gear
partners,
Solid
foreign partners and allies.
You better watch, General. If you stay in such great shape, they're going to bring you right back in. Lieutenant General Ken Tovo, happy birthday to you, Green Beret. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for your expertise here.
And I just close if I could. Green Berets are an important part of national capability, and Green Beret Foundation exists to support our Green Berets.
And so go to the foundation to support
GreenBeretFoundation.org.
So, especially on the birthday. General, thanks so much.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
He does look kind of like Tony Hawk. You're right about that. Genuine question. There might be a chance that Iran doesn't actually have the nukes, and this is similar to Iraq. Do I think that they don't have the nukes? I think that Iran is trying to develop nuclear weapons. I do. I think that they are trying to develop them. Now, there is a possibility that maybe they haven't developed them yet. But if you ask me the question, do I think they are trying to develop them and they are actively trying to develop them? The answer to that, in my mind, is absolutely they are. And so you're kind of asking two different things. Do they have a nuke at this exact second? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. I wouldn't bet on them having it. But there's also a high probability that they're trying to make one. And so that's at least where that's where I'm coming from. That's what I think. And so, yeah, of course they are. They lie about everything. Yeah, of course. Hassan said they should. I mean, if you were Iran and you were a psycho, fucking religious zealot, people don't die, they become martyrs, like totalitarian government, wouldn't you want to build a nuclear weapon? Because if I was them, I would too. Sure. I can easily see why they'd do it. And absolutely, it doesn't mean that's like, I mean, just because I say that doesn't mean I think it's a good idea. But of course I can understand why it's happening. Duh, of course. Absolutely. So yeah, and nukes have protected North Korea for 70 years. Being a martyr means you died, though. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the problem. And so it's that simple. Yeah, they have signed NPT, and they have IAEA inspections. Netanyahu said for 30 years they're weeks away from nukes. It's all fear-mongering Zionist lies. Again, that's already been debunked multiple times, and it's already been addressed multiple times. You can just go back into VOD for the last hour that this was also brought up by another moron, and you'll hear the answer to that. Just know that it's a dumb argument. It's a stupid argument. It doesn't make sense. Zionist lies. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's just a retard argument. It's not worth taking seriously. As I'm promoting the Israel agenda? No, it's not the Israel agenda. It's the American agenda. I know this might sound crazy, but just because in one circumstance, because your interests align with Israel, that does not mean that you are a puppet for Israel. It's a stupid binary way of thinking that doesn't help anybody. So, yeah.
Today's story is actually going to tangibly impact you. So, for 5 years, there's been a battle waging at the highest levels of the games industry. It's massive. It's between Apple, it's between Epic, and it's around the principle of fairness. And the big news today is that Apple just lost. But they didn't.
This is a huge fucking W. Massive fucking W. Because basically, Apple and Google have a duopoly over all apps on all smartphones. And Epic was suing them over that, and Epic won. This is huge. I didn't make a video about this or talk about this at all. I forgot why. But I'm actually, so happy this happened.
Lose because Epic Games outmaneuvered them or any kind of insane gigabrain play from Tim Sweeney. No, they lost because, in the words of the judge presiding over this decision, Apple leadership, quote, outright lied under oath, and in deciding not to comply with legal injunctions, Tim Cook, quote, chose poorly. It's an ominous thing for a judge to be.
He chose poorly, Jesus Christ.
He's saying to you. This, though, is a dramatic case. It has impacts that will reverberate across the entire games industry, and honestly, far wider than that, meaning it truly will impact everyone who watches this video. Here's how all this started. So, Tim Sweeney is a man on a mission, and it's a mission that's cost him and his company more than $1 billion over the last 5 years. It's fair to say that he's pretty committed.
Sweeney is not sweet. Oh. He ain't sweet with it. I'll be back here in a little bit. Sign off for a little bit, but don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and